Welcome to Talking Football on I24 News. This was supposed to be the show in which we celebrate the Euro 2016 playoffs and look at the final list of participants in the tournament next year in France. But reality had other plans for us. We will look at football events in France, but from a completely different perspective than the one we were hoping. One of the targets of the Paris terror attack was the Stade de France, the stadium which is scheduled to host the opening match and final of Euro 2016 in just a few months. The venue where France won its only World Cup shortly after the stadium was opened in 1998. The fans that came to support their team preparing for the tournament found themselves dealing with something else, and the effects were felt way beyond France's national stadium. Michael Friedman with a story.
The Paris attacks have shocked the world in an unimaginable way. The Stade de France was just one of the many places hit Friday night, leaving everyone at the stadium frightened. With fans unable to leave, many poured onto the pitch, holding their loved ones in fear of what may come next. Everyone around the stadium could hear the loud explosions, but were unaware of what was truly happening.
There was confusion. We heard two explosions, but at the beginning, I thought they were handmade bombs. And then there were many rumors inside the stadium. We were at Gate E. It exploded just nearby. It's true that it was noisy, but I thought it was only handmade bombs. But then there were rumors. We heard about a shooting. There was lots of confusion inside the stadium. A very frightened crowd with people on the ground.
French President François Hollande also attended Friday's game, but then left to declare a state of emergency. With terror all around Paris, the players slept at the stadium out of fear of the next possible threat in the city. The German football team then arrived back in Frankfurt on Saturday. While it was a scary night for the players and everyone at the match, the two teams came together and were united at the stadium.
I want to say that the French team said, "We are not leaving if the Germans can't leave." That's an outstanding collegiate and companionable gesture of the French side.
The attack was felt all around the world, with players showing their concern, especially those who regularly play in the French capital.
There has been a steady flow of news since last night. It's not like you can disregard it. One has followed it a bit, and the focus has not been 100% on the game. But we also have to respect the match and the focus on the match, which has been very difficult. But now the match is over, and we won.
The PSG players who left to play for their national sides in their international fixtures were very worried for the people back in France. And Brazilian defender David Luiz feels the streets of Paris are not the same anymore.
It is already complicated. Last year we had this as well, an attack on Charlie Hebdo offices. We feel scared, we are fearful. As I said before, I hope this ends soon.
With fear and terror being spread throughout the world, the football community has truly come together in support for the victims of Paris.
And Michael joins me here in the studio. Hi, Michael. Thank you for coming.
Hi.
So we were hearing reports that one of the attackers outside the Stade de France actually tried to go into the stadium with a ticket he purchased. I hate to speak of luck when we speak of anything regarding Friday's attacks, and yet if he had gone into the stadium, the results here could have been even worse than that we saw at the Bataclan Stadium, that bad.
Yes, they were very fortunate that the security did their job and they were able to thwart, a major, much attack. What we saw there was some mini bombs that went off, and had it gone inside the stadium, the president François Hollande was there, and it could have been really even worse situation, obviously, than it was. Fortunately for them, they are doing everything possible, but the security needs, there needs to be more, and we're seeing that this is an issue that continuously rises, that everything outside the stadium, people going in with liquids or knives or anything of dangerous nature. In the past we've had many stadiums be empty because they were afraid of such attacks, but now it's a little different because it's terrorism and it's a really scary situation.
And it's a scary situation in France, which will host the Euros next summer. We already heard the head of the French Football Federation saying maybe you should reconsider if we're hosting, if it's right to host the event. The organizing committee already said we'll do everything necessary in order to protect the stadiums. Question is, what happens with hundreds of thousands of fans? We saw the security works at the stadium works just fine. What happens with those hundreds of thousands of fans coming from all across the world? Once they leave the stadiums, how will they be safe?
It's true. The organizing committee does believe that they're going to do everything in their power to make it a safe Euro 2016. And we look in the past, and we had Brazil, and we also had South Africa, which were both places that had great concern, and people were worried, how will they be able to go without any issue? And fortunately, we can look back on it, and we can see that everything was fine and was a success. And hopefully, we can look after next summer and see that and say that there was no issue. But the fact of the matter is, there's going to be a lot greater number of people there, hundreds of thousands in attendance, and in the city of Paris. So they're going to have to do something, not just out with going into the stadium, but surrounding the stadiums, the metro, the underground, everything around Paris will need to be in full throttle and ready.
And who would have thought? We heard players like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, David Luiz in your report. Also, I've heard of Edison Cavani. Who would have thought that Paris would become a scary place to play for foreign players? This was supposed to be a magical place. Now they're afraid to go play for PSG.
Paris Saint-Germain, it's a club that has grown in the past few years and have put themselves on the map as one of the top football clubs in the world. And obviously, Paris has always been known to be one of the best cities around. And this is a difficult time for those players that are going to come back. Some are from Paris, some aren't. And for the players that are there, they're worried and they're scared. And you could see it. David Luiz and all of them are really taken back because they had Charlie Hebdo last year and now this, and everything of this nature is new to them, and they're really worried of what possible threat can be next for them and for their families that are in Paris.
And we'll see what effect this has on the French league this weekend. While France was trying to pick up the pieces following the night of terror, shows of support and solidarity poured in from around the world. This was also the case for the sporting world, as various events throughout the world featured the tricolor, the French red, white and blue.
The horrific attacks in France have once again shown the resilience and compassion surrounding the sports world. As one of the bombings was at a football stadium, it didn't take long for the globe to share their feelings of sympathy and support for the victims in Paris. In the NBA, the Warriors hosted the Brooklyn Nets, and prior to the game, there was a moment of silence. In addition to basketball, the United States Army football team carried out the French flag onto the field in a show of solidarity. As the West Point Army team took the field at its home stadium, they showed they are united in the fight against terrorism. Another sport which displayed more prayers for Paris was at a tennis match at Prague's O2 Arena, which featured the Czech Republic against Russia in the Federations Cup final. The players and 13,000 spectators also observed a minute of silence during the opening ceremony for the victims of the deadly attacks.
Please observe a minute's silence.
Next, we go to rugby, where a match in Ireland began with a moment of silence. One fan held a French flag, and the players were all there showing their sadness in the aftermath. Staying in rugby, we then saw French side Toulouse play against English side Saracen, and leading up to the match, the team also showed their respect for those who died in Paris. The world has again united in the fight against terrorism and are doing whatever they can to provide any hope of light for the people of Paris.
And Michael, we've seen even more images coming in throughout the days in the NHL, in the NFL, anywhere you go. It's nice to see that it's such a hard time. Everyone puts their differences aside and support France, as we all should do.
That's one of the greatest things that sports can do. It can provide a distraction and an opportunity to really rally around. You're seeing the NHL with the hockey. We're seeing rugby, football. Every sport there is a game, there are some type of moment of silence, which is really positive, and you can tell that the players are affected, whether they're French or not. Everyone is feeling this, and they're feeling the sorrows. And the French colors, the red, white, and blue, they're seeing it everywhere on every type of building and in every stadium. So it's really important, and it's a great opportunity for sports to help, lighten the mood for the people around the world.
And one of those leagues showing support is the NBA, where there are various, at least 12 French players. It wasn't very easy, I suppose, for them to concentrate this weekend on their games when you really have to literally care about the people at home, see that everyone's safe.
Absolutely. The players, the NBA players especially that are French in the NBA, and there's some really, top stars, Tony Parker, Nicolas Batum.
Joachim Noah,
exactly. So Nicolas Batum, he said that, his sister lives close to where one of the attacks was, and he was on the phone with family and friends just going into the game. He delayed it as long as possible and was really trying to find out as much as that he can. And then he played the game and came back, and he had hundreds of texts and phone calls that he was responding to. And basically, he said, it's a difficult time, but the French people are strong and they're united and they're going to get through this. And you also have the Pelican center, Alexis and Ajinka, and he admitted that it was a hard time focusing on the basketball court. With everything going on back at home, it's hard for them to be able to play and stay professional and do what they have to do because they have a big distraction back at home.
And it's going to be very interesting to see how all this affects the match in Wembley on Tuesday night. England hosting France. At any other time, this would be a match to watch just ahead of the Euros. A lot of things to look at and preparations. This time, just the importance is the fact that the game takes place and everybody basically goes back to normal as much as you can.
100%. The French Confederation, they insisted on playing this match. And they said they needed this for solidarity. And, with about 70,000 fans that are expected to be at Wembley, there's going to be one of the highest securities ever at the stadium. And there will be a series of tributes planned for the match. There'll be the iconic arch, lit up with the red, white, and blue. And the supporters, the English supporters, are actually being called upon to sing the La Marseillaise, the French, national anthem. So that would be a very special thing to hear. That everyone there is united. And the French and the English, they have not the easiest. But
you put that
but
aside.
You put it aside, and you could see them all united.
Yep. And the Paris event was also present in the charity match organized by David Beckham, which took place this weekend at Old Trafford. Those big former stars perhaps were playing in Manchester, but they had Paris on their mind.
UNICEF's Goodwill Ambassador David Beckham set up a match for children which reunited him with Sir Alex Ferguson at Old Trafford Stadium. Prior to the match, everyone stood for a moment of silence in honor of the victims of Friday night's Paris attacks.
I said before earlier that on behalf of myself, obviously the managers, the players and everyone involved today, the fans, we will send our condolences to the people that have lost loved ones in Paris, and our heart goes out to everyone in France.
The match featured a British and Irish 11 against a World 11, with former superstars including Paul Scholes, who looks to still be in form, as well as Michael Owen, who also laid on a goal. The older players still have plenty left in them. David Beckham was then replaced by his son Brooklyn in a special father-son moment at Old Trafford. While the match came at a difficult time in the wake of the Paris attacks, Beckham reflected on his love for the City of Light.
Paris has always been one of my most favourite cities in the world. And I have great memories from Paris for over the years, not just at that time when I was with PSG, but I played my 100th game for England there, and the support that I had from the French people was incredible that day.
This wonderful UNICEF cause brought together many football stars and helped raise money for those children who have been affected by conflict, disease, and lack of opportunity all around the world.
And Mike, it is an emotional thing for David Beckham. We heard it himself. He played for PSG, he played many games in France as an England player. This touches anyone who has ever passed through the French capital.
And David Beckham, he had a special connection, as he said, when he played there for his 100th cap and also playing for PSG later in his career. David Beckham has a love for the city. So for anyone who's played in Paris, in any sport, whether it was for PSG or for any other team coming there, they know it's an electrifying stadium and they're feeling for the people there. And for Beckham, this was a very nice cause, what they were doing. It was his 10th year as an ambassador, a Goodwill ambassador for UNICEF. And you put together, 7 matches in 7 continents. It's fantastic. I mean, they're able to raise money for a great cause.
Now, shortly, one question, a little bit about football. You watch all these players. David Beckham was there, Dwight York, Paul Scholes, Ronaldinho. Makes you wonder why we didn't do Talking Football 10 years ago or 15 years ago. What a pleasure that would have been.
Would have been really nice to be able to put all those players together and talk about them then. Oh, wow. I mean, you have a generation of such elite footballers, and it's truly exciting to watch. You're able to see Paul Scholes. He still has it. They were in their warm-ups, and he nutmegged John Terry. So they provide a little light, a little laughter for all the players. But really, if we could see all these guys continue playing and talk about them in the past, it's excellent to see.
Yeah, nice game this one in Manchester. Michael Friedman, thank you very much for being with us today. And that's it for Talking Football. We will be back next week where hopefully we will have nothing but action on the pitch to talk about. Till then, thank you for watching. Thank you very much.